Hey everyone, Kyle Mike here from MLive.com. Joined by Justin Rogers. Another Sunday, another win for the Lions. Justin at home, they beat the Vikings 16-14. Finished the year 7-1 at home, their best home record since '95. And more importantly, it puts them within one game of the playoffs. They can beat Chicago and they'll be assured of a wild card spot, or they could even lose to Chicago and win in Green Bay and win the division. And it's
Probably a lot easier to go that first round.
I'm betting so too. But for the Lions, it's they put themselves in a good spot by taking care of business. It was not pretty today, and the Lions certainly have some work to do on offense. But they made no apologies after the game for the offense and won the game, and that's what's most important.
I go back to some of my thinking before the season started when people were asking, predict the Lions record. And it's so hard to predict records, as we know, and we fail all the time. But the thing I kept going back to is I felt like they were going to be a better team, 2 to 3 wins better than the season before, because I felt like Caldwell was prepping them to finish games better. Been saying that all year, and that's really been the case. It's been so consistent, remarkably consistent, in fact, that they've been able to come out ahead in these close games over and over and over again. They've fallen behind. Again, it was another 14-point deficit, if I'm correct, right? And how many times has that happened where the defense has spotted the opponent 14 points, and Lions have weathered that storm, come back and finished off an opponent with finishing it off both sides of the ball in the second half. So it wasn't pretty, as you mentioned, but it's kind of been the way they've done it all year.
I brought that up to Matthew Stafford after the game, actually, just asking him. You guys have won every game that you were in this season, with the exception of the Buffalo game. What's behind this magic? No matter how far behind you are or where you're at in the fourth quarter, you win these games, you have a chance to win. And he's like, yeah, we almost won the Buffalo game too.
They should have.
And they should have. But to their credit, they've won the games. They put away games when they've had a chance. Joique Bell, another great fourth quarter today. 4 carries, 31 yards on that game-winning drive. This team just has that closing instinct to them, and I think it's an immense credit to Jim Caldwell, but also to the maturation of Matthew Stafford. He's been at the center of all these fourth quarter comebacks, including another one today. That's 4 for the season for Matthew Stafford, 4 fourth quarter comebacks, it's a real testament, I think, to his maturity and his steadiness under pressure. Something we haven't really necessarily seen, at least this consistently in the past.
Yeah, I didn't love the game plan today. I didn't like it on either side of the ball. I thought it was conservative on both sides of the ball. Thought they gave Teddy Bridgewater a little bit too much space to operate with his receivers. They paid for it. I think they feared Minnesota's defensive line, rightfully so, a little too much, leading them to be ultra conservative on offense. I can't even recall a downfield shot in this game. They put themselves in a position where they had to win a tight one today, but again, they know how to do that. They know how to finish games down the stretch. And, if that's going to be your calling card, if you're going to be confident in finishing them down the stretch, then, who am I to criticize it, I guess?
Well, after the game, Jim Caldwell and Dominic Raiola both said the same thing. They said they're making no apologies for the offense. They won the game. Right. And in this league, there's so much parity. All the games are so close. If you win the game, that's enough. And the Vikings have hung with some pretty good teams this year. Sure. That's enough for them. At the same time, we can sit in our pulpits after the game and say this offense has to be better. Midway through the second quarter, 0 first downs from this offense. It took 5 drives. The Vikings had 188 yards of offense and 14 points before the Lions had a first down. It's feel good about the win, but tomorrow you have to go back to work because this was far from a perfect game. The Vikings are 6-8, and you had to fight tooth and nail to beat them at home. There are tougher games down the line, including at Lambeau and in the postseason.
The play calling was suspect at times today. I thought, again, they try to force the run early, and it doesn't necessarily work. Execution also struggled at times. Stafford missed some early throws. Jeremy Ross's drop in the fourth quarter was really ugly because that blew a chance to put 7 on the board and really seal the victory. There's just a lot of little areas to tighten up. We warned you that this Vikings defense was good. It's a very good defense. Xavier Rhodes was incredibly impressive today in coverage. Harrison Smith is one of the better safeties in the league. And like I said, the defensive line was so good it dictated their game plan. The Lions worked around it, but there's still a lot to prove. This offense wasn't the offense we saw the last 2 games. We were worried about that a little bit. They got Chicago again, so feast while you can.
The thing I liked the most about the Lions today was the opportunistic nature of the defense once again. And this has been kind of the Lions' calling card all year. Suspect offense, up and down, making the winning plays at the end. But it's the defense that keeps this team in games. That was the blueprint again today, falling behind 14-0, but then putting the nail in the Vikings offense the rest of the way. And we were talking Glover Quinn's interception in the second quarter, which led to the Lions' first and only touchdown in the first half. And the very next series, Darius Slay picks off a pass, a really nice diving play, corralled the ball, led to a Matt Prater field goal. That's the only 10 points the Lions scored. The offense was doing nothing. Without those plays, the Lions are talking about a 14-0 deficit at halftime, and that's even tougher than what they had to come back from, particularly with the way the offense is playing. So it's another notch in the defense's belt. Another good day for them. They don't win this game without those two picks.
We're not Minnesota Vikings reporters, but from what I saw from Teddy Bridgewater today, I think he's going to be very good. He did what a rookie does, and he made two really big errors, but most of the day he looked very comfortable in that pocket. He moved well on the run, and that's going to be a rivalry for the Lions to have to handle for a long time.
Going forward, Justin, what are your big impressions of the Lions as they go into Chicago with a chance to win, to secure a playoff spot?
I don't know how many times I've said this to in games, and probably be the fourth or fifth, but I fully expect the Lions to win this game.
Yeah.
It's a game they should win. They're better. Chicago's still in disarray. Their coordinators crying in team meetings, apologizing for bashing Cutler. They lost Brandon Marshall for the year. It's just a mess in Chicago, and the Lions are hungry. They're on the cusp of this playoff berth. They need to go in there, take care of business. You can't leave it to Green Bay to get to Green Bay with a must-win. You want to go in there with something more on the line, division title, possible first-round bye. But we'll worry about that when we get there and we have to cover that game. But the Lions need to take care of business next week.
Well, I think they need to get some juice going on offense too. That's the biggest thing I'd be looking for, because you've got an offense that was struggling today big time for really most of the first half. And if you are bad again next week in Chicago, you're talking about going into Green Bay. Last weekend in December, the elements will probably be a factor. That could be a low-scoring game. It's a possibility that the Lions would have three straight, down offensive performances going into the playoffs, and that just kills your momentum. The Lions, I think, really need to have an offensive outburst to get something going, to feel good about themselves offensively before they play that game in Lambeau, where points will most likely be at a premium.
And obviously Green Bay lost today. Doesn't matter too much in the long run. It allows the Lions this opportunity to screw up in Chicago and have a chance. But I think the most important thing to take away from that game is Buffalo did what Detroit did earlier this season, but nobody else has been able to do Green Bay, and they shut them down with a very aggressive defensive line, good coverage. They made Aaron Rodgers look human for the first time since that Week 3 beating in Detroit he took. So, that team has been playing so well. The Packers have, most people view them as the top Super Bowl contender. It's good for the Lions to see that they're human going into that contest.
That's what we got from Detroit. Another win for the Lions today, 16-14 against the Minnesota Vikings. Now within one game of the playoffs, heading into the season finales against Chicago and Green Bay.
Update those banners behind us.
Yeah, playoffs all the way. That still blows my mind. Just having on the banners the playoff berths. I don't know. Just if you're talking about instilling a winning culture, that's
all they got, Kyle. That's all they got.
Yeah, I don't know. As an outsider, it just floors me. For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We are MLive. Keep it right here.